classes in chemistry for the last 15 years, 50 years. Main area of research of Sir are solid state chemistry, material science, cement chemistry, thermodynamics, and water purification. Sir was an Alexander von Humboldt Fellow and has worked at TH Antal University of Karlsruhe, University of Kassel, and TU Dortmund University of Germany. Dr. Singh was postdoctoral fellow at Free University of Brussels, Belgium. Sir is a recipient of NET ITAS Award 2002, ISCAS Gold Medal, and Lifetime Achievement Award. Indian Association of Solid State Chemists and Allied Scientists, Jammu, at 2009 with Wills Willow for the contribution in area of solid state chemistry. Sir is an honorary advisor of Federal Polytechnic Oak, Annaballa State, Nigeria. Sir was elected as President of Indian Association of Solid State Chemists and Allied Scientists for 2 years. Sir is Executive Editor of Journal of Scientific and Technical Research, Sharda University, Noida. Sir is also Editor-in-Chief of International Journal of Science, Engineering and Management, Nigeria. Sir has more than 261 publications in SCI Journal, 8 books, 4 chapters in edited books, guest editor of 4 Material Today proceedings. So, we really get this kind of opportunity to listen to words of great knowledgeable speaker like N.B. Singh sir. We are honored to have such an eminent personality among us. We are very much eager to listen you sir today on the topic various aspects of research. Over to you sir. N.B. Singh sir, over to you.
You can share your screen, ma'am.
Yes sir, you can share your screen.
Do you see my slide?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Hello?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Jadhav, for saying good words about me.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure, sir.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
Now, A.R. Anchal K. Chaudhary, President, IPS Academy. Dr. Premlata Gupta, Principal, Institute of Science and Research, IPS Academy. Dr. Ruchi Srivastava, Head of the Chemistry Department, Institute of Science and Research, IPS Academy. Other faculty members, teachers, guests, participants. It's a pleasure for me to be associated with this faculty development program. As everybody knows that in the higher education, particularly in university system, the responsibilities of the teachers and students are twofold: creation of knowledge and dissemination of knowledge. Creation of knowledge is done only by doing good quality research work. And any country cannot develop until a new, novel, innovative researches are not being done. And universities in any country are the custodian of all these type of activities. Now, Government of India has announced and going to implement from this academic session new education policy. And in the new education policy, a lot of emphasis is being given or has been given on research component. Therefore, such type of activities have become almost a necessity for any upcoming institutions, and you are taking a lead to organize such activities under new education policy. So I congratulate the organizers of this program, particularly the organizing committee, head of the institution, and the participants. As you can see from the slide, the title of my talk is Introduction to Research and its Various Aspects. This research, and particularly for science, this research is a very big subject. I will try to talk in brief on different aspects what is needed in doing research or for good quality research. Now, in university system, when we say of research, firstly, the thing comes to our mind is PhD, that students are doing PhD, although PhD is not the only thing which is being done in research. Our faculty members in different institutions, they are contributing a lot apart from the PhD work. Now, I must differentiate between PhD and research. There is a difference between research and doing a PhD. I always used to say that even a layman, an illiterate man who doesn't know to write ABCD can do a wonderful research, but he cannot get a PhD degree, because for getting a PhD degree, there are certain procedures, there are certain qualifications, all these requirements are there and you have to meet that. So a novel research is based on new ideas for research. In research, one should be a keen observer. The ability to look where everyone else is looking and see what no one else can see. Say, for example, in the mark, you are seeing everyone. But if you can pinpoint something new which others are not finding out or not seeing, then it is a novelty in your observation. Now, research is creating new knowledge. It was said by Neil Armstrong. Science is common sense at its best. Science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. Science is about knowing. Engineering is about doing. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Always believe that you can do it. If you have this type of feeling in you, you can do wonderful research. And for doing wonderful research, all these type of feeling are necessary in anyone. Now, research is our prestige. Never compromise on your core value. I always tell to my students that as a teacher in the classroom, teaching is our bread and butter, but research is our prestige, and nobody likes to compromise with the prestige. We can, instead of eating two breads, we can eat one bread, half bread, but you never compromise with your prestige. So research is our prestige. Never compromise on your core values. Excellence is not a destination, but a journey. Creativity and innovation sometimes need inspiration from other disciplines. Excellence and creativity go hand in hand. There is a thin line of difference between confidence and arrogance. Confident people are always open to learn. Arrogance, on the other hand, is stop learning. Well done is better than well said. You see that many people, just they talk, they speak, but they don't do. That's why this statement is for those well done. If you do something instead of saying something, it is always better. So well done is better than well said. For doing a good scientific research, knowledge and wisdom are required. Now here you see that knowledge and wisdom are two different things. Maybe that you are very knowledgeable, you have a lot of information, but you are not wise enough. But there are persons who have a lot of wisdom, they are wise enough, but they don't have information and knowledge. So there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And in doing a research, both knowledge and wisdom are required. Knowledge is the human capacity, potential, and actual ability to take effective action in varied and uncertain situations. Wisdom is a state of the human mind characterized by profound.
क्या
Hello,
हम्म,
may I request you to mute, please?
Please, all of you mute yourself as there is a
Characterized by
disturbance.
profound understanding and deep insight. It is often, but not always, accompanied by informations. Now, there is a life cycle of knowledge and management. If you have knowledge, then you have to manage it. How to manage it? Create knowledge, share that knowledge amongst people and the community, store it, use it, and always try to update it. It is said that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. It was said by American philosopher Benjamin Franklin. Now, in research, there are certain quotes which is necessary for a beginner to start the research. According to Albert Einstein, you know that Albert Einstein was a great scientist, Nobel laureate. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. You see that. Knowledge is always limited. You can increase your knowledge as much as you like. But in research, you require certain type of imagination, imaginative thinking, so that something new can be done. So imagination is much more important than the knowledge for doing a good quality of research work. Now, learn from yesterday. Whatever you have experienced yesterday, learn from yesterday. Live for today, hope for tomorrow. Albert Einstein has also said that those who have not committed any mistake have never tried to do something new. You see that. When you are doing research, it means you are going to do something new, and it is bound that you can commit mistake. And normally, if you don't commit mistake, you are doing what has been done in the past, nothing new. Maybe that it is different, but in most of the cases, it is like that. Every failure is a step to success. You learn from your failure, and it is a type of success in your career. Now, everybody knows Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda has said that take risk in your life. If you win, you may lead. If you lose, you may guide. But the meaning of this statement is that in research, always try to do something new, something innovative, something novel. If you are going to take the problem which is new and you are going to do something new, you are taking a risk. You may succeed or you may not succeed. If you succeed, you become the leader. But if you don't succeed, it is a failure to you, then you may become a guide. You know that what are the steps where you should have done wrongly, you can guide others not to do that. The Roosevelt, an American president, has said that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss things, and small minds discuss people. Just like we discuss people that Mr. X is not doing that, Mr. is better, bad, whatever. But those who have excellent or great minds, they always think of good ideas, they always discuss ideas. Basic research is what I am doing when I don't know what I am doing. In basic research, normally we start from zero. We don't know what are, and maybe that the outcome, what you get, something great. Now in research, set a goal, make a plan, get to work, stick to it, and reach the goal. Unless and until you plan it in a systematic manner, you cannot achieve your goal. Now, the first question is, what is research? Why research? Why one is interested in research? There was a time when studies were knowledge oriented. But now the things are changing and changing fast. You see that. If you go back to our ashram system of education, say Ram Yug or Krishna Yug, Ram and others, they used to go to the ashram of their gurus. They used to learn depending on what type of education they needed. Say, for example, for a common people, it was the Sanskrit and related areas. But for people like Rama and others who belong to a royal family, they used to know the fighting and other things, people. So at that time, only motive was to gain knowledge, to learn something. It was not an intention to get a job. So there was a time when studies were knowledge oriented, but now the things are changing and changing fast. It has now become career oriented. Today, you see that whatever you teach, whatever you learn, it is all career oriented. Even if you have a child of 5 years old, the parents are worried whether that child will become doctor, engineer, manager, or executive officer, or whatever it is. So they are worried for that. But both are necessary. Knowledge and career in the present regime is necessary. Therefore, there should be a balance between knowledge and career. Today, we have knowledge-driven economy all over the world. You see that today, United States of America is one of the richest and powerful country in the world. Why? Because they have a lot of money and they have hired all good brains from all over the world, and they are contributing in the development, overall development of the country by giving certain output, by doing one or the other type of research. It is not only scientific research, but other type of research also. So today we have knowledge-driven economy all over the world. The challenge before us as we continue to forge ahead in the knowledge-driven regime of today is to transform our human capital into knowledge capital for rapid economic development, creation of wealth, well-being of our people, and for playing an important role in world affairs. Higher education institutions, particularly our universities, are the main instrument for transforming our human resources into human capital. Today, we are living in a dynamic world where time domains and geography are rapidly shrinking, but space and opportunities are expanding with competition and innovations as the key drivers. We have also witnessed remarkable advances in science and technology, which have greatly fueled the economic growth in a rapidly globalizing world. We are in an age of transition, and things are changing so fast that many people feel insecure. It is an age of progress. Progress means change, and we all need greater flexibility of mind and preparedness to face the changes while retaining our faith in that which do not change. Adaptability is essential to meet the challenge of our era, the era of science and technology, with both wisdom and courage. Science has given us vast knowledge, and this knowledge has brought us immense power. The backbone for a sustainable development is to understand thoroughly what is going on, and for this, one has to do the research. When we say why we want to do research, all these are the parameters, are the factors why we are interested in doing research. And when we say that do research means novel and innovative research, not repetitive research. In the future, we will not be able to compete on the world stage with low labor cost or by exploiting vast reserves of mineral resources. You see that there was a time when mineral resources were very important. If you consider Arab countries, they had a lot of reserve of petroleum. There are many other countries who had mineral resources. Now, they are not rich at the moment. If you can convert it into advanced things, then only then, and that requires knowledge, scientific knowledge, technological development, etc. We will have to compete with our brains and with our science, and this requires a lot of informations and innovations. So one has to do innovative research. Always one has to do innovative research for the development of the nation, for the development of our organization. Now here, there is a very famous statement. Research is the transformation of money into knowledge, but innovation is the transformation of knowledge into money. Again, I repeat it. Research is the transformation of money into knowledge, but innovative research or innovation is the transformation of knowledge into money. I'll give you an example. Say, for example, in order to carry out research, you require a huge amount of money, depending on your problem, depending on your project. Now, basic principle in developing mobile phones, whatever it was, it is there. Now, mobile phone was developed and people are using it. Now, just by making some changes, innovative changes, every day you have different type of telephones, mobile phones with various applications, and the costs are increasing every day. And the manufacturer of these type of smartphones, they are earning a lot amount of money. Therefore, innovative research is needed, and innovation transforms the knowledge into money. In general, research, particularly innovative research, has been identified as a prerequisite for meaningful and meaningful industrial and socio-economic development. Research generates and propels inventions, discoveries, and drives the present-day outbursts in technological advancement in visible areas as information technology, aeronautics, astronomy, medical, education, and socioeconomic changes. You see that every day you find something new ideas in all these sectors. Invention can be thought of as a new man-made device or a process. And one of the examples is the invention of a telephone. And innovation can be defined as simply better way of doing things or an improvement to an existing product or invention. You see that the basic principle of telephone and the mobile phone are the same: to convey at a distant place, to talk at a distant place. Now, you modified it, invented it, innovated, and you converted to phone, mobile phone, and smartphone. Discovery is the primary process. There is a difference between innovation, invention, and discovery. Discovery is the process, primary process used in science. Say, for example, today we are all over the world, we are facing energy crisis. Energy crisis because our resources are going to be finished maybe within 50 years, maybe 100 years. And whatever the resources we have, they generate a lot of gases, pollute the atmosphere. Therefore, alternative is solar energy is one of the best, although there are a number of ways, but solar energy is one of the best alternative or one of the best way of giving clean and green energy. Now, you are making number of changes. Either you are using crystalline silicon, amorphous silicon, quantum dot, or dye-sensitized solar cell, anything you are doing. But the discovery was made by Einstein. That is, when a beam of light falls on the metal surface, photons are ejected. And that was the basis of conversion of light into electricity. And so it was a discovery. So there is a difference between discovery, innovation, and invention. Now, to innovate, accept the challenge, think differently. If everybody is thinking in the same way, then you will never get anything new. If in a class of 100 or a gathering of 100, everybody is thinking in one way, then there is only one output, no other thing. But even if one person is thinking in a different way, he or she can find out something new, innovate, accept the challenge, think differently, make a change for better. If everyone is thinking alike, then somebody is not thinking. If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. Albert Einstein. Great innovation only happens when people are not afraid to do things differently. There is a way to do it better, find it. Now, research, there are two words. Re means again, search means find, and the process, step by step, phases by phases. If you continue, that is a type of research or meaning of research, you can say. Now, why do we do research? Then the next question is, what is the research? The systematic, rigorous investigation of a situation or problem in order to generate new knowledge or validate existing knowledge. Any honest attempt to study a problem systematically or to add to man's knowledge of a problem may be regarded as research. The aim, as far as I can see, is the same in all sciences. Put simply and curiously, the aim is to make known something previously unknown to human being. It is to advance human knowledge to make it more certain or better fitting. The aim is, as I have said, the same in all sciences. Research is a logical and systematic search for new and useful information on a particular topic. It is an investigation of finding solutions to scientific and social problems through objective and systematic analysis. It is a search for knowledge, that is a discovery of hidden truth. Here, knowledge means information about matters or things. A research can lead to new contribution to the existing knowledge. Only through research it is possible to make progress in a field. Research is indeed civilization and determines the economic, social, and political development of a nation. The results of scientific research very often force a change in the philosophical view of problems which extend far beyond the restricted domain of science itself. The information might be collected from different sources like experience, human being, books, journal, nature, etc. Study in depth is research. Now the question was, what is research? Study in depth is research. Research is about exploration, discovery, and curiosity. Research is all about the question, your reader's question, your question that lead to more questions, systematically collecting and analyzing information to meet the questions of the problem under study is termed as research. Research attempts to explore hidden facts about something, makes way for discovery and perhaps invention, which culminates into industrial and socio-economic development. Research has not only become instrumental to development in different spheres of human endeavor, but also proactive as the major parameter for solving human problems, searching for answers to basic questions, be it science, social science, or art. Research is not confined to science and technology only. There are vast areas of research in other disciplines, such as languages, literature, history, and sociology. Whatever might be the subject, research has to be an active, diligent, and systematic process of inquiry in order to discover, interpret, or revise facts, events, behaviors, and theories. Applying the outcome of research for the refinement of knowledge in other subjects or in enhancing quality of human life also becomes a kind of research and development. Research is an organized and systematic way of finding answers to questions. What is systematic? Because there is a definite set of procedure and steps which you will follow in research. There are certain steps in research process which are always done in order to get the most accurate results. Organized. Research is organized. There is a structure or method in going about doing research. It is a planned procedure, not a spontaneous one. It is focused and limited to a specific scope. Finding answer. The objective of research is to know the answer, to find the answer. Finding answer is the end of all question research, whether it is the answer to a hypothesis or even a simple question. Research is successful when we find answers. Sometimes the answer is no, but it is still an answer. You see that I always used to say to my students that if the answer is no or the finding is negative, then I consider it as much more positive than a positive result. I'll give you one example. If you are suffering from something and went to a doctor, now doctor after examining says that you are diabetic and the doctor prescribes you some medicine to cure diabetes. After taking 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, you had no cure, no problem existed. Then the doctor advised you to go for pathological test. And in the pathological test, there was no symptom of diabetes. That it means it was a negative value or it was a negative result. Now, this negative result saved your life by taking those medicines which were not required. May I request you to unmute, please? Questions are central to research. In any research, the basic thing is the question, your reader's question, and your question which generate question. If there is no question, then the answer is of no use. Research is focused on relevant and useful information. Alternative to research, other basis of knowledge. Doing research is not the only way to have a knowledge, but there are other things also. Authority. When you accept something as true just by someone in a position of authority says it is true or it is an authoritative publication, you are using authority as basis of knowledge, parents, teachers, and books. Say, for example, if anyone has a lot of experience in a particular discipline, then he or she has become almost authority in that area. Our teachers, our parents, and some experts, by their experience, they are authority, and whatever they say, we should accept it. But in science, we try to confirm it also by doing certain experiment. Tradition. Tradition is a special case of authority. The authority of the past, it means you accept something as being true because it's the way things have always been done. Common sense, media myth, personal experience, all these things are also alternative to knowledge. Without doing research, you can accept it and you can increase your knowledge, but in science, nobody believes unless it is confirmed. Now in scientific research, we ask a number of questions. What, when, where, who, how, why. And we want to give answers. Now at this stage, I'll just make one thing. There's a basic difference between basic knowledge research and applied research or engineering research. You see that basic knowledge or basic research is for increasing the knowledge, academic knowledge. And in engineering research, you want to convert it into some useful thing which is needed for the society. Say, for example, if I ask an engineer to construct a beautiful, sustainable, durable house, then his job is to answer the question what? and why. What he will do? He will hire a very good architect, purchase all good quality materials, construct a house, then it will be very beautiful, durable, and sustainable house. Now, if I ask a question, why this house is very stable, strong, durable, and sustainable? The answer of that engineer will be that since he has used the best quality material, therefore it is like that. But if I ask the question with a scientist who is doing basic science, then he will try to investigate why the strength of this brick is high or low, what is the role of the cement is being played, why the iron bars are which are embedded in that, how they increase. So that is basic mechanism, basic understanding how the things are improving. It is in the basic research. So here, whether it is basic or applied, there are a number of questions, and in order to do a good quality research, you have to answer all these questions. Now, in basic and applied research, basic research often focuses on intellectual satisfaction, educating, equipping the mind, and contributing to knowledge. In basic research, we answer what, why, and how. Applied research is for practical application. That is, whatever you do for the use of the society. But in basic research, mostly we do for increasing the knowledge. And you see that basic knowledge or basic research is very essential for development of applied research. Unless and until there is a basic research, no applied research can develop. Now then the question comes, what is science? The systematic observation of natural events and conditions in order to discover facts about them and to formulate laws and principles based on these facts. The organized body of knowledge that is derived from such observations and that can be verified or tested by further investigation. Any specific branch of this general body of knowledge, such as biology, physics, geology, or astronomy. Science is an intellectual activity carried on by humans that is designed to discover information about the natural world in which humans live and to discover the ways in which this information can be organized into meaningful patterns. A primary aim of science is to collect facts, data, and ultimate purpose of science is to discern the order that exists between and among the things. Engineering. What is engineering? The creative application of scientific principle to design or develop structures, machines, apparatuses, manufacturing process, or works utilizing them singly or in combination, or to construct or operate the same with full cognizance of their design or to forecast their behavior under specific operating conditions, all as respects an intended function, economics of operation, and safety to life and property. Science aims to understand the why and how of nature. Engineering seeks to shape the natural world to meet human needs and wants. Scientists Scientists study the world as it is. Engineers create the world that has never been. So because we create many things, new things. Technology. Technology is the process by which humans modify nature to meet their needs and wants. The know-how and creative processes that may assist people to utilize tools, resources, and systems to solve problems and to enhance control over the natural and made environment in an endeavor to improve the human condition. Often science and technology appear together. They are inseparable, I would say. What is innovation or innovative research? the introduction of something new, a new way of doing something, the successful exploitation of new idea, invention, all are component of that. An idea made manifest, the first occurrence of an idea for a new product or process. Innovation, ideas applied successfully, the first attempt to carry it out into practice. Incremental innovation, where something is adopted or modified. Radical innovation, which involves completely new ideas. Now, science, engineering, and innovation all are related to each other. Do all scientists invent something? The question is, do all scientists invent something? Not necessarily. You see that when we say a student is doing a PhD, our objective to supervise a student or the objective of the student to undergo the process of PhD program is to know how to tackle a new problem. In PhD, we give a training to the students how to tackle a new problem. Not necessarily that we expect from him or her a research of the standard of Nobel Prize. If he or she gets Nobel Prize, that is fantastic. But we never expect that a PhD student will get a Nobel Prize. Our objective is to train him so that he can learn how to tackle a new problem. So if he or she enters in their career, they can solve their problems wherever they are. Now, some characteristics of science. Science is empirical, that is, it believes on observation. Science relies on experience more than authority, common sense, or logic. And basically, we say there are two types of this characteristic, inductive and deductive, that is empirical research. Inductive research aims at developing a theory, deductive research aims at testing an existing theory. Now, some characteristics of science. Science is empirical, as I pointed out. Science relies on experience more than authority, common sense, or logic. Science is objective. Objectivity means that same conclusion should be arrived if same observation is made. Now, what I want to say that if you do some experiment in your research here and you get something, anybody under those conditions is doing research in United States, England, or Germany. They should also get the same result. Now, sometimes what happens, under certain compulsion, people do something wrong. I will give one example. One of a very senior professor, very renowned professor in chemistry, his student was doing something and he was expecting certain compound during the course of reaction. The student did not get. He repeated many times, but he did not get. The supervisor was very angry. Then the student thought that the supervisor is angry. So he bought the chemical from the market and mixed and showed that, sir, I got it. And the paper was published in a very good journal. Now, similar work was being done in United States. When they saw the paper, they invited the fellow, but the student only went, the teacher did not go. And because it was a wrong or false, he could not repeat it. And because of that, the supervisor lost many things, and it is said that even he lost his Nobel Prize. He was at the verge of getting Nobel Prize. So science is self-correcting. Because science is empirical, new evidences may contradict the old ones. This is the beauty of the research, that particularly in scientific research, if you have got certain thing, you have interpreted this thing, tomorrow you get some very good instrument, and from that instrument you get the result in a different way. So you correct the findings what you have done. Now you see that chemistry is one of the things where this type of modifications have always been. You see that Dalton's atomic theory, everybody must have heard. atom is the smallest particle, matter. But later on, experiments showed, no, it consists of electron, proton, neutron, and other fundamental particles. So it is divisible. Further, it was found that electrons are moving in a circular path in a particular energy level, but when it was examined with sophisticated instruments, then it was found no, each energy level is subdivided into number of sub-energy levels. So we always corrected by new results. Science is progressive because science is empirical and self-correcting. It is also progressive. Science is tentative. Science never claims to have the whole truth. New information may make current knowledge obsolete. Science is concerned with theory, developed theory of how something occurring. Hypothesis in any type of research, not necessarily in scientific research. In scientific research, we assume something. We don't say that hypothesis in general, but hypothesis is a general name, and this is much more applicable in social sciences, management, and some other disciplines. But in scientific research, we, in order to develop certain theory, we make certain assumptions. In order to reach certain conclusions, we make certain assumptions, and they are a type of hypothesis. Now, hypothesis is an educated guess. It is a guess based upon observation. It is a rational explanation of a single event or phenomena based upon observed facts, observed but which has not been proved. A hypothesis is basically an educated guess. It is a possible answer to the problem or question. A hypothesis is testable and falsifiable. A hypothesis is an explanation for a phenomena which can be tested in some way, which is ideally either proves or disproves the hypothesis. For the duration of testing, the hypothesis is taken to be true, and the goal of the researcher is to rigorously test the terms of the hypothesis. When the hypothesis passes the test, it is adopted as a theory or thesis, as it correctly explains a range of phenomena, but it can at any time be falsified by new experimental evidence. Now here, I will just give you one example, or two examples, I would say. In scientific research, in order to develop certain theory, we assume certain things. As a student of chemistry, or those who are students of chemistry, they know that kinetic theory of gases, a lot of assumptions were made, and one of the assumptions was that the volume of individual molecule is negligible as compared to the total volume of the gas. Practically, it is correct. And based on that, the scientists derived the equation PV is equal to RT, gas law. But it was not correct in many gases, and it was found that some of the assumptions made were wrong, and because of that, number of other equations were developed and derived, and one of the most important is van der Waals equation. I just give you another example, practical example. I am a student of late Professor R.P. Rastogi, a renowned thermodynamic man. He was Vice Chancellor 2 terms at Banaras Hindu University. Now, in 1956, he was in United Kingdom. He was telling his experience of that time to us. He went to attend a lecture at that time, and the hall was full. In the audience, there were 2-3 Nobel laureates also. And the speaker spoke very well on a particular topic. It was a theoretical lecture on theoretical topic. Now, at the beginning of his lecture, he said that he had made following assumptions, and then he proceeded. Based on those assumptions, he found certain theory and explained it very well. A lot of questions were asked. He answered all the questions in a satisfactory way. Everybody was happy. Now, at the end of the talk, one Nobel laureate stood up and asked, if one of your assumptions is wrong, then what is the status of your theory? Then the speaker kept quiet because everything is based on the assumptions. So assumption may be right or assumption may be wrong. So either you confirm it or you falsify it. And this is a very common term in hypothesis, particularly in social research and the managerial research. What are the criteria for a good research? The aim of the research should be clearly mentioned along with the use of common concepts. The procedures used in research should be adequately described in order to permit and the researcher to repeat the research for further advancement while maintaining the continuity of what has already been done. The research procedural design should be carefully planned to obtain results that are as objective as possible. The flaws in the procedural design should be sincerely reported by the researcher to correctly estimate their effects upon the finding. The data analysis should be adequate to reveal its significance. The methods used during the analysis should be appropriate. The reliability and validity of concerned data should be checked carefully. The conclusions are needed to be confined and limited to only those data which are justified and adequately provided by the research. In case the researcher is experienced and has good reputation in the field of research, greater credit is given. Now, who is a researcher? We answered why research, what is the research? Now the next question is, who is a researcher? One who is keen in learning, knowing about something that interests him or her. A researcher must acknowledge that she knows very little and there is so much to learn, urge to learn more. Non-judgmental, open-hearted attitude towards research, giving priority to truth and research before our personal comfort and convenience, having patience and perseverance. Complete commitment to research area. A researcher should first try to choose the problem, and once he has chosen the problem by analyzing from different angles, then he has zeroed the topic or title. Then complete commitment to research area, that particular research area which you have decided. Once you have zeroed down to a particular area of research, you must be totally committed to that topic and stop moving around in different areas of research. This is important because as you go deeper and deeper into one particular field of research, your line of thinking develops in a particular way, and the moment you change your field, your thinking has to again realign with that new area. If you want to dig a well for water, then you need to dig deep at one place and not small pits at many places. The same way, you need to focus on a research area rather than just moving around. That is, say for example, if you are digging a well for water and you dig 20 feet deep, you did not get. So you were discouraged. You thought probably at this point there is no water. Then you move to some other place. You dig again 22, 25 feet. You did not. 30 feet. But if you could have digged at the same place 30 feet, only additional 10 feet, you could have got the water. So once you have zeroed down your research problem, please stick particularly to research students, PhD students who are doing PhD. Once they zero down or decided the problem, they should stick on them. Research is not only doing and finding new things or discoveries, but it is a training how to tackle a new problem. Make research your journey and not just your goal. Now, this is my message to PhD students or even teachers who are teaching science. Sometimes people think that my objective is just to have a PhD degree, and you get the PhD degree, then you forget everything to do. Now, my advice is when you are involved in this type of profession, in this type of career, then make research your journey and not just your goal. That is, just after getting PhD, don't stop doing research. What are the benefits of research? If you are doing a PhD, to get a degree, to get respectability, to face a challenge, to solve a problem, to get intellectual joy, to serve society by increasing standard of living in case of science and technology, and to increase the knowledge in other areas. What are the research characteristics? Originates with a question or a problem, requires clear articulation of a goal, follows a specific plan or procedure, often divides main problem into sub-problems, guided by specific problems, questions, or hypotheses, accepts certain critical assumptions, requires collection and interpretation of data. Now, the next is research design. Before you start, complete after deciding that you have to make a design, research design. Good research design is the first rule of doing research. Decisions regarding what, where, when, how, much, by what means concerning an inquiry or a research study constitute a research design. That is, in your research design, all these questions should come and there is a provision of the answer. Good research practice begins with problem selection and research design. Both choice of the problem and this research design, they are the major component for doing a research, particularly for a PhD student. The proposed research should address questions, the answers to which will contribute new knowledge, solve challenges, correct errors in the existing literature, and develop new methods for conducting such research. A good research design involves having a well-documented plan outlining the objective, roles, and responsibilities. Research builds upon the work of others who must be properly identified and their contributions, application acknowledged. That is literature survey. A good literature review helps to do that. It locates the proposed research in the broader research landscape, provides insight into identifying data, sources, and research methods, and lays out a rigorous and systematic approach to analyzing and synthesizing the evidence to support the research claim. Knowledge of the needed research design allows advanced planning so that the project may be conducted in less time and typically at a cost saving due to efficiencies gained in pre-planning. Research design results from certain decisions being taken. The decisions are: what is the study about? Why is the study being made? Where will the study be carried out? What type of data is required? Where can the required data be found? What periods of time will the study include? What techniques of data collection will be used? How will be the data analyzed? In what style will the report be prepared? And how the research purpose can be achieved with minimum expenditure of money, time, and energy. Now, there are different types of research. I'll just give the names, not discuss it. Descriptive research, exploratory research, analytical research, applied research, basic research, quantitative research, qualitative research, conceptual research, non-scientific methods. But in science, normally we use quantitative research. So just I will mention qualitative and quantitative. Now, qualitative research designed to explore and understand people's beliefs, experiences, attitudes, behavior, and interactions used in social science. In quantitative research relies primarily on the collection and analysis of numerical data. That is, when we say quantitative, the number should be there. Numerical data, lab research and engineering research falls under the quantitative research. Now for a PhD student, just I gave one or two slides. What is the meaning of PhD? Now, Doctor of Philosophy, abbreviated as PhD, PhD, DPhil, or DPhil, for the Latin Philosophia, Doctor or Doctor Philosophia. In English-speaking countries, it is a postgraduate academic degree by university. Now, I would like to give this information that in our country, the degrees are given only by universities or those have the status of a university. And PhD is considered to be a postgraduate degree. Now, in most of the countries, it is PhD. Particularly in India, Allahabad University is the only university which gives DPhil degree. Otherwise, I don't know anywhere in the world that DPhil is given. Even today, after the state university is converted to a central university, even then they continue to give DPhil. Now, there is no grade in PhD all over the world except Germany. In Germany, there are 4 grades: grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. If the thesis is evaluated and grade 1 is given, that is excellent. If grade 2 is given, very good. If grade 3 is given, good. And if grade 4 is given, it is equivalent to fail. Initially, I did not know this tradition of German system of PhD. Once I was in Germany, and the professor with whom I was associated, he came to my room and said that he had some students from African countries and he has some problem. I asked, what is the problem? Then he said, whatever the professor suggests, he doesn't follow. He said that whatever the standard in engineering, you see that I was in the Department of Civil Engineering. In the engineering, always they follow certain standards, certain protocol. And every country has its own standard. And in Germany, the standard is, nomenclature is DIN something. Then I asked the student to come. I said, why you are not following? Then he said that in my country, this type of tradition, this type of norm, this type of standards are followed. So when I go back, then I said, you are doing PhD in Germany, you are not doing PhD in African country, so you have to follow the norms and standards which are being followed here. But he did not agree. Then I asked the professor, why you take such type of students for doing PhD? He said that, no, he doesn't take it. The student came under government exchange program and it has become almost binding that if he stays here, we must give him the PhD degree. Then he told me that they always give grade 4. And with grade 4 PhD degree, they cannot work in Germany. In their own country, whatever they like, they can do, but they don't recognize as a PhD degree in Germany. So Germany is the only country where they have grades for the PhD. And PhD in almost all the English-speaking country is a postgraduate degree, and only in Allahabad University, I think all over the world, it gives the DPhil degree. The academic level of degrees known as Doctors of Philosophy varies considerably according to the country, institution, and time period, from country level research degrees to higher doctorates. A person who attends a doctorate may be referred to as a doctor. In the context of academic degree, now very often students ask this question, why it is said to be doctor of philosophy? Because philosophy is a subject. Why not doctor in chemistry, doctor of physics, doctor of mathematics, doctor of sociology? You see that. The word philosophy is not related with the subject. It is a Greek word, and the meaning of this philosophy is love for wisdom, love of wisdom. So when we give you doctor of philosophy, that is, you are well versed, you have a wisdom sufficient, you have love for wisdom. Maybe that wisdom is in chemistry, physics, mathematics, sociology, any subject. So in doctor of philosophy, the word philosophy doesn't stand for a subject, it stands for love of wisdom. It is a Greek term. Philosophy, the definitions, love and pursuit of wisdom by intellectual means and moral self-discipline. Investigation of the nature, causes or principles of reality, knowledge or values based on logical reasoning rather than empirical methods. The critical analysis of fundamental assumptions on a belief, a set of ideas or belief relating to a particular field of activity or activity and underlying theory, general laws or principles under which all the subordinate phenomena or facts relating to that subject are comprehended. So it is the meaning of philosophy. I just pass on here. Now there are some key questions during PhD for a student: how to do scientific research, how to plan and manage a research project, how to publish research result, is it important, how to plan thesis, how are research results assessed. These are some of the basic questions which normally the students should understand, should know. Significance of research, according to famous Hudson maxim, all progress is born of inquiry. Doubt is often better than overconfidence, for it leads to inquiry, and inquiry leads to invention. It brings out the significance of research, increased amounts of which makes progress possible. Research encourages scientific and inductive thinking besides promoting the development of logical habits of thinking and organization. Now, if you are doing research for a PhD degree, a suitable supervisor is needed. That is the requirement. Unless and until you have a good supervisor, you can't be a successful. Before jumping into the unknown, remember that your supervisor will be your guide. One of the most critical decisions you have to take is the supervisor is an expert in the area you selected, is internationally recognized in the area, is well connected in the international scientific arena, is willing and able to promote your work at conference and the like, is active research publications, has previous supervision experience, is interested in the topic you selected, can provide research facilities, is willing to fight the system for you. Will you be integrated in group? Do you want co-super? Personal chemistry is also needed. So for doing a good research during your PhD and getting benefits of that, you must have a good supervisor, and some of the qualities which the supervisor should have, I just mentioned. Now, what should be the relationship between the student and the supervisor? And the supervisor should scientific and methodological guidance, the supervisor should give, suggestions and assessment, reassurance support, policing technical writing, resources, hosting project, contact, social networking, facilitator to assess scientific channel, experience, mentor, friend, confidence, advisor, and also a voice of reason. But what quality the students should have: hardworking, hard work enthusiasm, labor resource for projects generating data, generation of experimental results, contribution to publication, and contribution to project proposals. Now, how this all the basic and applied research are related? You see that basic research comes out of curiosity. Because of curiosity to do basic research, and it is responsible for increase of knowledge, the amount of knowledge. This basic knowledge is used for applied research, and this applied research advancement of technology. And this advancement of technology is responsible for application development, that is utility applications, and this in total is responsible quality of life. Because whatever the outcome, machine, infrastructure you get out of research, that is only for enhancing the quality of human life. What are the steps in carrying research? Choice of a problem, review of literature, hypothesis methodology, collection of data, interpretation of data, and then ultimately conclusions. Now, choice of problem is a big thing. In any scientific research, choice of a problem. Research problem is like an identification of destination before undertaking research journey. So here, where do we go from here? You are standing here, you are beginner. Now the question is, when you are going to take admission for PhD program, the question is, where do we go from here? That is, research problem is like an identification of destination before undertaking the research journey. Research problem is the foundation of the research study. You see that for foundation, it should be very strong. This figure just shows a strong foundation. Prioritizing research problem. What should be the priority in research problem? Relevance, how important, size, severity, health and social consequences, duplication. Is the answer already available from other studies? Then no, such problems should not be taken. Feasibility, feasible to carry out remedial actions. If you take a problem and it is not feasible in your laboratory, then how will you do? Then you don't take it. Applicability, all these should be taken into consideration. Now, considerations in selecting a research problem. Now, in your mind, these things should come: interest, magnitude, concept measures, expertise, relevance, data availability, and ethics. All these things you think many times that can you answer, can you do, can you cope, can you find out the ways to meet all these things. If you consider all these aspects in deciding the research problem, then probably you can be a successful researcher. Now, formulation of a research problem: identify broad field of subject area of your interest, dissect the broad area into sub-area, select what is of most interest to you, raise the research question, formulate the objective, assess your objective, and double check for sufficient interest. Now, choice of problem. Ask significant questions that can be answered empirically. The formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution, which may be merely a matter of mathematical or experimental skill. To raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old questions from a new angle require creative imagination and marks real advance in science. The research question must be asked in a way that allows for empirical investigation. Where from you'll get the problem? You are a beginner, how to decide a problem? Observation, literature reviews, professional conferences, experts, previous experience, if any. Now, the most important in deciding your research problem and knowing what has been done or what has not been done. In scientific terminology, we say what has been done or what has not been done, research gaps and research questions. What are the gaps and what are the questions to be answered? And that can be obtained only if you have a literature survey. you have gone through different type of databases literature. Checklist for information for scientific literature review. Is the information reliable? You see that you don't consult any type of literature. There should be a reliability. And so you have to decide yourself by discussing with your supervisor, by discussing with your friends, that whatever information you are going to take, the sources which you are going to choose, they are reliable or not. So is the information reliable? Is the information error-free? Is the information factual? Say, for example, I will give you one example. Anything which is published in newspaper may be right or wrong. So is the case, any journal, if it is not indexed in good quality database, the result may be right or wrong, but as a new researcher, you don't know. So there should be a reliability of the source. I'll just pass on here. Now the question is, what is literature review? An overview of previous research on your research topic. A literature review is an evaluative report of studies found in the literature related to your selected area, a comprehensive review of all published research that is relevant to your proposed investigation and guided by your research objective. The review should describe, summarize, evaluate, and clarify this literature. It should give a theoretical basis for the research and help you determine the nature of your own road research. While the form of literature review may vary with different types of study, the basic purpose remains the same or constant. Now, purpose of the literature review. Before we can create new knowledge, we must first know the current state of knowledge about the research subject. Effective researchers will use knowledge and insight or outcome and draw on elements of prior research. In the literature review, the task is to learn as much as you can from the efforts and work of others, which is published in the scientific literature. Convey the depth and breadth of research that has been accomplished on a subject, identify important issues and link to hypotheses, identify key areas of missing knowledge, describe methodologies and existing data sets used, helps you learn everything about your subject, ensures that you are not reinvestigating the field, helps you learn about the people in the field, highlight flaws. So there are many such things which you can get when you are doing a literature review. Now, what question you should keep in mind for making use of the literature survey or for making use of the literature review? Now, what is known about the subject? Are there any gaps in the knowledge of the subject? First thing is, what is the gap in the knowledge? Why you want to do it? Have areas of further study been identified by other researchers that you may want to consider? Many other researchers might have pointed out in their research papers that this requires further investigation on these aspects. So if you can locate, it will be better. Who are the significant research personalities in this area? That is also very important for your research quality. Is there consensus about the topic? What aspects have generated significant debate on the topic? What methods or problems were identified by others studying in the field, and how might they impact your research? What is the most productive methodology for your research based on the literature you have reviewed? So whatever you search in the literature, try to think that whether you can do it, you can make an answer by your facilities which you have in your laboratory or nearby. Now, how to do a literature review? How to do it? Define a research topic, first to define. Tentatively, you can't define in a complete sense. Compile and prioritize list of keywords. Identify source of information. Read, evaluate, analyze all the work. Discuss findings and conclusions, and divide other works in a similar way so that you can have an idea from the literature review. Now, there are 8-step model for carrying out the research. I will not discuss this in detail. Formulating a research question, research design, then instruments for data collection, selecting a sample, research protocol writing, data collection, data processing, and then ultimately a research report. And these will give you answer what, how, and conducting of a study. All these you can look at. Now, in general, research is hard. All research involves risk. If your project can't fail, it is developmental work, not the research work. Along your career, you will accumulate a lot of failures. Even the apparently successful researcher accumulate many failures. Research always takes much, much longer than it initially seemed. Crucial to success is making your research part of your everyday life. Think about your research in background mode all the time. You'll find that your rate of progress seems to vary a lot. Sometimes no progress at all. All other times you get stuck and feel like you can't do anything for a long time. Setting your sights too high leads to paralysis. Work on a sub problem to get back into the flow. It's hard to get started working in the morning, easy to keep going once you have started. Leave something easy or fun unfinished in the evening that you can start with the morning. Fear of failure can make work hard and discouraging. You are aiming a PhD, not a Nobel Prize at this time. So you start your research with this concept. After you have completed your research work, the most important part from the recognition point of view, from authentication point of view, is the publication of your research paper. How information is communicated among scholars and to potential users, this is the publication. Research is not complete until it is published. The coin of the realm provides accountability, which is the basis of trust in scientific research. If there is no trust, there is no scientific research from one author to many other authors. Now, what are journal metrics? Now, when you say metrics, we describe the quality of journal. There are a number of ways to decide the quality of the journal, but no method, no criteria can be considered to be absolute criteria for deciding the quality of a journal. Normally, a student and a supervisor should try to publish their results, their papers in good quality journal. Only then you can show to others that you have contributed a lot, you have a good contribution, and you have, so that comes under the journals matrix. Now, why we measure science? Why we say that it is a good science or bad science? We quantify it. And for quantification, we have certain norms. Why we say that numerical indices for quantification of published research output are being increasingly used by employers for hiring personnel, promotion panels, promotion tenure funding agencies. Funding does not regenerate fund, but reputation does. In many other countries, there are different ranking systems. One of the most important scientific metrics is impact factor. Now, impact factor is one parameter which describes the quality of the journal. Now, but always the impact factor is not a valid criteria for deciding the journal. But in general, we say that if the impact factor of a journal is higher, the quality is higher. Now you must remember that impact factor is for a journal. It is not for a particular paper or not for an author. Now, if you publish a paper in a very high impact factor journal, then certainly you can say that your paper is of good quality. Now, just in brief, I would say that only those journals which have been indexed in Thomson and Reuters, they are considered for calculating the impact factor. And the impact factor calculated on those journals which are indexed in Thomson and Reuters, they are the genuine impact factor. Otherwise, on internet, you find that the journals are bogus. They write that their impact factor is 12, 20, 10, 5, etc. But only those journals which are indexed by Thomson and Reuters are considered to calculate the impact factor. Now, how to calculate the impact factor? And from this, you will know what is impact factor. Now, let us say, I will explain you like that, and then you will understand it very well. Let us say, and this impact factor year-wise, it varies from year to year. Now, we want to calculate the impact factor of a journal for 2020. That is, what is the impact factor of this particular journal in 2020? Now, first criteria is the journal must be indexed in Thomson and Reuters. Then, total number of papers published in that journal in 2018 and 2019. The journal is indexed by Thomson Reuters. Total number of papers published in 2018 and 19, and total number of citations out of those 2 years papers in any journal which is indexed by Thomson and Reuters. That is, publication of a journal in Thomson Reuters and citation also in a journal which are indexed by Thomson and Reuters. Say, for example, if in a particular journal in 2018, total number of papers in all the editions were 50. In 2019 also, the total number of papers published were 50. So the total number of articles published during 2018 and 19 is 100, 50 plus 50. Now, out of this 100 papers, only 10 papers have been cited by Thomson Index Journal in 2020. Therefore, the impact factor will be, impact factor of that journal for 2020 will be the number of citations in 2020 divided by the total number of papers published in 2018 and 19. Now, the number of citation is 10, total number of papers published is 100, so 10 upon 100 is 0.1. So the impact factor of that journal is 0.1. Now, the impact factor is, of course, it is one of the criteria for assessing the quality of journal, and if you publish in the highest impact factor journal, certainly you will claim that you have good quality publication. Now, there are certain things which influence the impact factor, and there are a number of questions also. Why 2 years have been taken? Why this, that? I will not discuss because a lot of time is required. Now, what influences impact factor? Review articles cited more often. If a journal publishes a review article, it is very often cited. So everything changed. Case report rarely cited. Rapid publication time has higher impact factor. Self-citation has higher impact factor. Bias towards rapidly evolving fields. Sites not counted after 2 years. Specialty journal have less impact factor. Or journals published in other languages. Say, for example, there are a number of journals which are of very high quality published in Russian language or French language, but because of the language problem, people do not read and do not cite, therefore their impact factor becomes lower. Using the impact factor alone to judge a journal is like using weight alone to judge a person's health. Say, for example, just knowing the impact factor, say, let us say the impact factor is 30. You can't say that the journal is very good. It is similar to just take your weight, and if the weight is increasing, it is not the only criteria. to say about a good health. Research paper. Now, you want to write a research paper. A scientific paper is a written and published report describing original research result. It must be the first publication of original research results in a form whereby peers of the author can repeat the experiment and test the conclusion. And in a journal, here you see that these are the components of a paper: title, authors, author's affiliation, abstract, and then keywords, introduction, materials and methods, results and discussion, conclusions, acknowledgement, reference. Now you see that in general, all paper requires all these information. All the journals require all these information, but different journals have their different format, different way of writing paper. So it varies from journal to journal. But the process of evaluation is like this. You submitted the manuscript to the editorial office, that is start manuscript. You have made it the research paper. Authors submit manuscript to journal. Now journal, if the editorial board examines that it is not worthy of publication, that is it rejected and returned to author. If the editorial board feels that it can be considered for publication, yes, then editors send the manuscript to referee. There may be 2 referees, 3 referees, 4 referees, depending on the journal policy. Now, the referees, if they say yes, then it directly goes. And if the referee says that it needs a revision, then it goes back to the author, and then author again revise it, submit to the editor, and then editor process it. It's sent to the press. Galley proof is obtained, and ultimately the paper is published. Now, what makes good research? 2 things are needed: good science and good ethics. Unless and until it is a good science or you have used a good ethical way, you can't claim to be a good scientist. Now, research, what is the research ethics? I will not give the detail, but I will simply say honest way of doing anything is ethics. Ethics is the disciplined study of morality, and morality asks the question, what should one's behavior be? Greek ethos, character, is the systematic study of value concept, good, bad, right, wrong, and the general principle that justify applying these concepts. So the principle of morality, obeying morality, is the principle of ethics. Now, this ethics in science is a very, very important thing. If you are non-ethical, you'll never be recognized. Research integrity, ethics and integrity are related. Research integrity can be defined as trustworthiness of research due to the soundness of methods and the honesty and accuracy of its presentation. Research integrity broadly refers to the thoughtful and honest adherence to relevant ethical, disciplinary, and financial standards in the promotion, design, conduct, evaluation, and sharing of research. Principle of academic research integrity, honesty, reliability, use of robust research methodologies, impartiality and independence, open communication, duty of care for participants, fairness, high standard of mentorship and supervision, awareness of responsibilities to society. Research is a human endeavor. Sometimes researchers commit honest mistakes. Sometimes researchers depart from accepted practices and breach the principle of research integrity deliberately or negligibly. Now, in scientific misconduct, people follow this fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. If they adopt all these, this comes under the purview of misconduct. Sometimes scientists follow non-ethical path. It is not necessary, but sometimes they follow because of professional pressures, publish or perish, tenure retaining a job, keeping up with peers, securing grant, being first to discover. Sometimes people feel that it is correct, but it should not be done. It's my humble advice and suggestion for a new researcher not to follow this. It is very often said rules are meant to be broken. Nice guy finish last, go along, get along, and boss is always right. It is not correct. Boss may not be always right. You are a scientist, you are a researcher. In a very submissive way, you can contradict if you feel that it is not correct. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is a type of academic theft. I'll just take 10 minutes more and then I'll close it. I'll not elaborate in detail. Plagiarism, academic theft, don't do it. Ignorance of the rule is no excuse. When in doubt, ask the expert. Plagiarism is copying, cutting, or pasting text that are someone else's work and acting like they are your work. The American Association of University Professors has formally defined plagiarism as taking over the ideas, methods, or written words of another without acknowledgement and with the intention that they be taken as the work of the deceiver. Now, intellectual property rights. When you discover certain thing, you create something, it becomes your property just like other property. That's why it is said to be intellectual property. And in intellectual property, there are basically 4 components: industrial designs, trademark, patents, and copyright. Now, when you publish certain papers and you take graph or this data from others, you have to take the copyright permission. So these are said to be intellectual property rights. Now, following principle be followed by a researcher. It's my suggestion for particularly young researcher as well as senior researcher also. Honesty is the best policy in any life. Honesty, sincerity, dedication, methodical, try to do innovative work, discussions with knowledgeable people in the area, consultation of good and reliable literature, follow all the principles of research, welcome criticism on your outcome, try to publish your results in good journal, always be imaginative. And I think, thank you very much for
Thank you very much, sir.
giving so much time.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your deep knowledge about every aspect of research with us. You have cleared all the concepts about research, discovery, inventions, how to do PhD, and all the ethics of the PhD for the researchers. So your lecture is knowledge. It is excellent and was fruitful for a young researcher. Those who are moving to take the PhD degree and further do to do new and innovative research. Thank you so very much, sir. Now I request Dr. Premlata Gupta ma'am, Principal IPS Academy, to say a few words for appreciation on this occasion. Please, ma'am, over to you.
Honorable Professor N.B. Singh, Sharda University, Noida, distinguished participants, my colleagues, a very good afternoon. Research is really a powerful tool for success of any country. Sir, you said very well that imagination has no limits. So everyone should imagine. We should think differently. We will definitely innovate. Yes, sir, you also said truly that knowledge is a power, and as a teacher, we always use our power, I mean our knowledge. Every day we find new idea in every field. We should seriously think on that. Yes, energy crisis, this will going to become a major problem in future. So we must adopt sustainable development. We should adopt clean green environment. For any research scholar, there is lot of queries, confusions about in selection of research problems, about supervisor, how to do literature survey, publications, citations, impact factor, writing manuscript. You guide us so well and explain every problem. If anyone follow your word,
इसके बाद
he should definitely become successful. For research, we should imagine, think differently, get an idea, and stick to that idea, execute in a systematic way, and analyze data again and again, definitely will give a good output. So, sir, your lecture was very informative, motivating, enlightening. I hope participants will definitely benefit. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now the session is open for question and answer. If any participants wants to ask anything to sir, please put your question in the chat box. If you have any question, please put in the chat box. So I think so, no question, because you're so nice and innovative that everything was crystal clear to everyone. Each and every point is being covered. So,
You see, madam, there are two aspects of anything.
ji sir.
Your one aspect by on seeing the lecture is that everything is crystal clear.
Yes, sir.
The other aspect is that nobody understood what I said.
Sir, if something was missing, then they must have asked question. But they are like appreciating very much your lecture in the chat box. Everybody wants your slide and they want to listen you more in future also. So that
Okay.
that made clear that it
I
is.
am always at your disposal. I came to know that Principal Ma'am is also a chemist.
Yes,
And the organizer, Ruchi Srivastava, is head of the chemistry department.
Yes.
So same fraternity. हम हिंदी में कहते हैं एक ही बिरादरी के
Sir,
हम
I am
लोग।
also from chemistry only in
चलिए
the
तब
chemistry
तो
department.
हमारी बिरादरी बढ़ती जा रही है।
Jeez. Sir, ma'am is a motivator for us. She always motivates towards the research. That good research.
बिरादरी वर्ड जानती हैं आप?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. जानती हूँ. Sir, I'm always do good research and always publish paper in a good journal. So we are, ma'am is there always to guide us.
So
So
I
I
congratulate
think
you for
no question. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering such a wonderful and knowledgeable lecture from your busy schedule. So like to, yes, sir,
before I close this
Yes, sir.
session from my side,
yes, sir.
I want to convey one message
Yes, sir, please.
to the researchers,
Yes, sir,
whether they are
please.
students or senior researchers. Now, there are a lot of avenues provided by the government of India for doing research. And a lot of grants are also available. But for getting a grant, there are 2-3 requirements. Any project which you submit, you see that we always say grant is granted because of the merit, because of the quality, not because of the need. Say you are in the IPS Academy and you want to carry out some research, so you just submit one research project, it will never be sanctioned. If you have contributed a lot in a particular area and you have done some elementary work in allied area, and you can convert that work into a device, application oriented, then you can get grant either from DBT or DST, SAR, DRDO, any such funding agency, they are ready to provide you a lot of grants. But everything goes to the caliber of the researcher or the PI. The grant will never be given to anyone because of the need. Because say, for example, if I am going to give you money, it is my prerogative whom I should give, whom I should not give. And I will give money who can do something for me. So the funding agency will give money to those who can solve the national problem, who can give or who can contribute something to the knowledge or solving national problems. So formulate your research problem in such a way that you can get it.
Thank you, sir. So there is one question.
Yeah.
That old research paper that has been just removed by UGC, will they be useful for us for further
What?
research? So
What?
the research papers and the journal which are removed from the UGC list, so whether they are useful or not?
You see that in scientific research, everybody understand Hindi or no?
Sir, understand.
अच्छा, मैं एक चीज हिंदी में कहूंगा, that will be more impressive for me. अगर आप कोई लिटरेचर संस्कृत का पढ़ते हैं तो ये कहते हैं कि 100 साल पुराना था और इनके द्वारा लिखा हुआ इनकी हस्तलिखित मटेरियल है, and much more weightage is given to that. लेकिन अगर किताब आपकी केमिस्ट्री की टेक्स्ट बुक या फिजिक्स की टेक्स्ट बुक 5 साल पुरानी है, 5 साल पहले छपी है, nobody likes to read it because some things are outdated, obsolete, or maybe incorrect today. So science में everything is changing every day. Now, if you get any information, whether it is an old journal or new journal, you consult it. Use your own mind and brain by going through the new literature, whether what has been published is correct or not. Because in writing any PhD thesis, in writing any research plan, in writing any research paper, normally we encourage 5 years old journal. Now coming to the UGC journals, now you see that there was a time by considering the need of the research, University Grants Commission tried to recognize number of journals. And in journals also, there are a lot of business. There are a lot of people who are doing business. They publish your paper, they charge money. So what they did, they approached the office of UGC, either fair or foul means, I don't say that, fair or foul means. And you see that everything is possible here. So they got their journal listed, but when UGC got complaints from different angles, from different corners, then they deregistered those journals. Then they formulated a policy that is UGC care list. And there are 4 categories of UGC care list. UGC care list A, all those journals which are Scopus indexed journals, they are in the category of A. Now, category B, there is a council in UGC for these journals. The council decides some of the journals to be put into category B. Then there is a 3rd category, that is UGC care list C, and the whole country is divided into 4 zones. Say Jawaharlal Nehru University takes care of Northern University, Tezpur University, Eastern Zone, University of Baroda, and some 4th is, I don't remember. So different states come under the purview of those universities. If you want that your journal be registered in UGC care list category C, then you have to apply to those universities. They will evaluate, examine, and if they find that you are meeting the norm, then they will put that journal in the UGC care list C journal. Then there is a 4th category, that is the UGC care list D. In this, those journals which were initially registered in the UGC, now they are, if the publisher apply, they are evaluated by the committee, and if they find some journal suitable and worthy for consideration, they will be put, or they have been put into UGC care list D category. So you can read anything, but you have to decide yourself whether the things given in this journal is right or wrong.
Thank you very much, sir. I request all the participants to please on your video so that we can take a screenshot. Please, all of you on your videos. Ma'am, ma'am, please on your video. For giving us opportunity and platform to organize such an FDPs. Our principal, ma'am, IPS Academy, for her motivations, organizing committee, and all dear participants for their support and valuable participation in this FDP. Now, for today, our session is over. Tomorrow's session will start at 11:30 a.m. Session for the tomorrow are first session by Dr. S. Narayana Kalkura, UGC Crystal Grow Center, Anna University, Chennai, on the topic Current Trend on Biomaterial. The second session is of Dr. Pratik Shah, Central Institute of Petrochemical Engineering and Technology, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, on the topic Plastic Waste Management and Recycling. So thank you very much, all of you. And please join tomorrow morning sharp at 11:30 a.m. Thank you so very much. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for your excellent
Thank you so
session.
much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Ma'am,
madam. Thank you
feedback
very
link.
much.
Thank you, sir. Feedback link will be shared after the completion of the FDP.
In
And the
group.
link of the tomorrow program will on the group.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.